Hey guys, in this video, I'm going to be reviewing the brand new Deadpool and Wolverine movie that just came out that I just got back from. Of course, before we get into that, if you'd like to help this channel, please hit the like button and the subscribe button and the bell icon to be notified of my new videos. On this channel, I talk about movies, TV shows, anime, gaming, and all kinds of pop culture stuff, and I try to upload 3, 4, or even 5 times a week. So with that being said, let's get into this review. So starting off, the first half of this review is going to be non-spoilers. I'm just going to give my overall general thoughts, and the second half we'll get into some spoilers. So overall, I thought the movie was great. I thought it was really fun. I had a really fun time. I really did enjoy it, and I think it is the win that Marvel needed. It's full of action. It's full of comedy. I will say that this is probably without a doubt, the most adult thing connected to the MCU. As far as adult is concerned, there wasn't any like nudity or like sex scenes, but there's a lot of blood, a lot of gore, gory stuff, and a lot of very crude and inappropriate jokes that you would, expect from a Deadpool movie. But it was all very fun, and I enjoyed that. I think most of the comedy did land quite a bit. I was chuckling all throughout of it. There were a few moments where I laughed out loud and thought it was funny. There was never any moment where I was like rolling on the ground, holding my sides laughing, but it was very entertaining. And I feel like one of the best parts of this movie was the dynamic between Hugh Jackman and Ryan Reynolds. Wolverine and Deadpool, they work out very well, as you might expect. Deadpool is, messing with Wolverine throughout the whole movie, and Wolverine's pissed, but it works out very well, and they carry this movie. The plot was fine. There was a few moments throughout the movie where I just kind of thought, what are we doing here again? Like, where are we going? What's the direction that's going in? But overall, it's fairly consistent. It flows fine. It's not the best storyline in the world, but I think it does good for what is needed. And again, like I said, Deadpool and Wolverine carry the whole movie. There's a lot of cameos, a lot of very fun cameos from a lot of different sources, things that I wouldn't have expected at all, and those are scattered throughout. And the cameos in this movie, they fit fine. Some of them are short. Some of them, the actors remain on screen for a little bit longer. I don't know how much we're going to see some of them in the future. There's some things that are kind of winked at, but I don't know if we're going to be seeing any of these, or if they're going to set up anything down the line. And as far as this connecting to the MCU, it certainly does, because there is a butt ton of references that you can even see in the trailer where it's clearly connected to the MCU. And I will have to say that Deadpool, breaking the fourth wall, criticizes a lot of things. There is a lot of criticizing that takes place in this movie when it comes to Phase 4. And I'm interested to see how some certain Marvel stans react to some of these criticisms, because there's a lot of YouTubers on YouTube who will be like, oh no, Phase 4 is fine, Falcon and Winter Soldier was amazing, WandaVision was amazing, things like that, when all of the rest of us know, no, this stuff really sucks. And when it comes to covering that stuff and the multiverse and all that stuff, Deadpool definitely breaks the fourth wall and takes certain shots at those kinds of things. And I'd be interested to see how certain people react to that, as he many times says the quiet part out loud. And a lot of that stuff we've already seen in the trailers. And so I thought that was fun. I thought the action in the movie was great. There's a lot of action in this movie. It's not just endless jokes, but there's a lot of fun action, very bloody action, and it's high paced throughout most of it. But I will say this, and this is one of the best things about this whole movie. One thing that I was thinking would either make or break it is whether or not the movie would take a moment and slow down and give us some serious moments, or whether or not it was going to be this slash-buckler, raunchy kind of comedy all throughout where it just never slows down. And I will say, this movie does a good job on that. It has several moments throughout the film where it stops, it slows down. They're not particularly like super drawn out scenes, but they're long enough, and it grounds the characters. And not just for Wolverine, because there are those scenes for Wolverine, there's some for Deadpool as well. And it grounds the characters. It does give the film several opportunities to breathe and gives us some investment in these characters, and it really does draw you in, and I think it does a pretty good job of that. And then it comes back with the comedy and bounces back pretty well. Deadpool and Wolverine, they both have their motivations. They both have pretty clear motivations for what they want to do. And the film starts off, they clash a lot. You know, they don't get along very well. But as the scene progresses, as the film progresses, they start to draw closer to each other, and it really becomes this really cool bromance. And it was a fun time. I had a lot of fun. Is this going to save the MCU? I don't think so. I think it is going to make upward close to $1 billion, if not straight up billion, because I do believe this film is going to have the legs. I think it is that good. I think it's that much fun, and I think it's going to have really good word of mouth. I didn't see anything, as far as what we normally see things, woke stuff or DEI stuff. This film makes fun of some of that stuff, and it clowns on some more progressive, what's the word, politically correct kind of phrases. And Deadpool and some of them do, make fun of some of that stuff. And so there's not a whole lot of that, and it's certainly not woke at all, but it is filled with a lot of fun, and the characters were great, the action was great, it slowed down with these meaningful moments. There's a lot of different music that I thought was good. I thought it was all shot very good. Of course, I don't know how much money they spent on it, but it's high budget. What are some of the downsides of the movie overall? It's hard to say. Some of the jokes didn't land. Most of them did. There were a few times where I suppose there was a few jokes here and there where, they just didn't hit me. There is a couple of villains in the movie, and they're fine. It kind of almost goes back to the original Marvel formula where the villain is only there to kind of prop up the hero, and it's just kind of a throwaway villain that doesn't really matter that much. But the heroes are emphasized and their character, and I always thought that strategy worked out very well in the early days of the MCU. This movie kind of copies that. The villains in this movie, their motivations, what they want to do, they're kind of throwaway. Like, you're not going to see a villain in this movie that has just this deep rooted character like Thanos or something like that. It doesn't need it. The film doesn't need it. The villains are only there to push forward the story, and I will say they do that, and it really hangs off of Deadpool and Wolverine. And not just the cameos, but certain things are done in this film. Is it at the level of in Endgame? You remember in Endgame whenever Captain America raised the hammer, and everyone freaked out because they kind of have hinted at that. Is it at that level of hype? No, I don't know if you could ever top that or beat that. But there are a few things in this movie that they do, that they hint at, that a lot of people online have talked about and have said, man, it would be so cool if they did this or if we saw that. And there's a few things they do, and it's really cool, and it pays off really well. And when I was watching it on screen, I had the same reaction to Captain America lifting the hammer. It wasn't as intense, but it was still like, oh my gosh, I can't believe they did that. So I thought it worked out well. So thumbs up for this movie. I think it's going to make a lot of money. I definitely recommend it. Not a family, unless everyone in the family's like an adult and stuff. But don't take the kids to this one. But it was a lot of fun, and it's worth a rewatch because there's a lot going on. And I will say the audience reaction, people were laughing, people were having fun. This is a win. This is a huge win. Like I said, I don't think it'll fix the MCU. I don't know how much ripple effects this will have going forward, but I'm hoping that when all of the morons who do work at Marvel see the success of this, maybe they course correct a little bit and stop with all of the DEI pushing political, BS that we have been seeing. So, those are my overall non-spoiler thoughts. I definitely recommend it, and I think you should check it out. Now, to get into spoilers. And as far as spoilers go, I'm just going to kind of go overall the general plot points of the movie and what's been going on, and talk about how I feel about some of that stuff and some of the cameos. And I've written down a few notes here, and we're going to go over it. So, again, warning, spoilers, but here we go. So the film starts off, and Deadpool is just he's shuffling up Logan's body, and he's taking it out of the ground, and he's messing with it and doing all that kind of stuff. and there's a couple of flashbacks with basically where Deadpool is at. Deadpool is in this area in life to where he is struggling. He tried to apply for the Avengers, but he got turned down and he didn't get accepted in. But he feels lost. He feels like he just kind of took a knee and he just kind of gave up on life because he wants to matter. He wants to be someone important, and that's why he applied for the Avengers. But he didn't get in, and so he failed. And what ended up happening was he's in this rut now, and he's working this 9 to 5 job at like a car salesman area. The saddest part is the girl, his love interest, that hot chick who's been in the other Deadpool movies. She's in this, and she's a huge part of this. She's not in the film much, but she's a huge part of his motivation. But she's kind of left him. They're separated right now. And the reason they're separated is because he's just kind of fallen apart as a person, and he just doesn't feel like he matters. So what ends up happening is the TVA shows up, they take him, and the TVA show Deadpool, they say, hey, your timeline, your universe, it's about to die. It's about to fall apart. The reason it's about to fall apart is because, and the guy in charge of the TVA, I looked up his name. What is his name? I want to get some of these correct so I don't screw it up. It is Mobius. Mobius. It sounds like Morbius, but he's in charge of this one branch of the TVA. And he tells Deadpool the reason his universe is falling apart is because in every universe there is an individual who's like an anchor person, like a special person who anchors their universe. And in Deadpool's universe, it was Logan. And the Wolverine Logan died in the movie Logan. And after that movie, since he died, Deadpool's universe is raveling apart and, just being destroyed. So Deadpool escapes out of the TVA area. He digs up Logan's body to see if he's really dead. He's really dead. And then he uses his corpse to murder a lot of TVA agents coming after him. And so Deadpool uses the little device that he stole from the TVA to go and search for a new Wolverine. So he goes through all of these cameo Wolverines that I suppose are cameos from the comics. And he finds the one that we see throughout the movie. He brings him back to the TVA headquarters and says, hey, I found a new Wolverine, so this guy can fix it. And Mobius is like, well, no, that's not going to work because you can't just replace the Logan that's dead in this universe, especially not with this one, because this one is the worst one. This Wolverine is like the worst one out of all of them. He let his own universe die. And so Mobius ends up... You ever remember from the Loki TV show? I only watched season 1. I watched like a couple episodes out of it too because I just thought it sucked. All those Marvel TV shows that have come out have sucked. But I do remember they had these glow sticks that could vaporize people. Well, Mobius vaporizes Deadpool and Wolverine, and he sends them to this place called... It's like the junkyard or the trash heap, something like that. It's like that Mad Max kind of landscape. Deadpool and Wolverine fight, and then a bunch of people show up to capture Deadpool and Wolverine. And we have our first interesting cameo, which is from Chris Evans. And Deadpool's like, whoa, it's Captain America. This is awesome. Nope, it's not Captain America. Chris Evans is playing the Human Torch from the from the Fantastic Four movies, with like Jessica Alba and all them that came out. Oh my God, when did those come out? Like in the early 2000s? So, Deadpool thinks Chris Evans is going to say Avengers Assemble, but instead he says Flame On, and he turns into the Human Torch. Well, some of the villains show up in order to capture all of them. One of them is the guy who could control fire from the old X-Men movies. That young guy that ended up joining Magneto and he could control fire and stuff. He's there. He completely shuts off the Human Torch, and Chris Evans falls to the ground. Sabretooth is there. Toad is there. Long story short, they end up capturing Deadpool and Wolverine and taking them back to the headquarters, which is the corpse of Ant-Man. And the villain in charge is Cassandra Nova. This is Professor X's sister, who apparently Professor X never knew about, and she was sent there to the junkyard when she was just a child, or she was born there or something like that. But she's in charge of all of these characters, and all of these cameos start showing up. Most of them are from actors that are just new actors, but you see a lot of people from the X-Men universe. Juggernaut's there. The girl from the second Wolverine movie, the girl who had like the spikes and all of her fingers, who worked for the general, she's there. You have Azazel is there. Who else was it? There's a lot of them. Most of them are just kind of in the background. So I thought this was cool, and she shows up and she shows how tough she are. So the Human Torch is there with Deadpool and Wolverine, and the Human Torch, Johnny Storm, that's his name, right? Johnny. He's a part of this resistance group against her, and all these other people are working for her. And so Deadpool, it's one of the funniest parts. Deadpool basically tells Cassandra, he's like, Johnny Storm was talking mad, mad shit. And he starts making all this stuff up that Johnny Storm says about Cassandra. And then Cassandra, and Johnny Storm's there, played by Chris Evans, and he's like, no, he didn't say any of that stuff. And so she ends up ripping his skin and guts out and just instant killing him. And Deadpool, he's like, oops. And Wolverine's there and he's like, you just got him killed, asshole. It's so funny. It's really good. Anywho, this big smoke cloud that I guess you see in the Loki TV show, I forget what it's called, it starts to show up. Well, Wolverine and Deadpool end up escaping out of there. They strap onto this rocket or whatever. They end up escaping. They leave. They start roaming around. They meet another Deadpool who is just this absolute feminist, and the original Deadpool makes fun of him. And they start traveling around in order to find a way out of there, I guess you could say. And what ends up happening is they fight. There's some emotional moments. There's some good moments. Deadpool's throwing it in Wolverine's face like, hey, you messed up your universe. And then Wolverine is, just like, well, you're screwed up too. You've lost everything in life. You couldn't even keep your girlfriend who's a stripper. All this other stuff. And they just beat the hell out of each other. Well, they end up getting, not captured, but the minivan they're driving gets drove into a new base while they're just out. And they meet this team of resistance people against Cassandra that Johnny Storm was a part of, but he's dead now. And who is a part of this team? Well, here's some more major cameos. And I was pretty shocked at some of these. So who show up is, the first one was Elektra. Elektra from the old Elektra movies. It was kind of attached to the Daredevil one, with Ben Affleck. And then there was that sequel, but it was just an Elektra movie. And what's her name? It was Jennifer Garner. I had to look it up because I couldn't remember the actress's name. So she shows up, and then, believe it or not, which was the biggest one for me, Blade. Wesley Snipes' Blade walks through the door, and he's a part of it. And then the third one was Gambit. Gambit from the X-Men, but it's played by a new actor, Channing Tatum. I couldn't know his name. I looked it up too. But Channing Tatum is playing Gambit, and his accent is just horrible. And Deadpool makes fun of his accent through the whole time. Because, in like the cartoon, Gambit had that thick, like, southern kind of accent. And finally, X-23 is there, the girl, which we've seen in the previews. And so I thought that was cool. I wasn't expecting several of those. And so they're all there, and they basically are like, Deadpool tells them, hey, we escaped from her. And he kind of gives a pep talk. And so they all decide, okay, let's go back. Let's attack their base. Let's attack it. And seeing as how, Cassandra Nova has the powers of her brother, Charles Xavier. She's a psychic, and she can control stuff. But what is going to hurt her is, if remember, Magneto's helmet can block out that psychic energy. Well, they don't have Magneto's helmet, but they conclude that Juggernaut's helmet could do the same thing. So their plan is to go to this base, attack it, steal Juggernaut's helmet, put it on Cassandra, and then have Cassandra open up a way to get them out of this junkyard area. And that's what they do. They show up. There's this huge battle. Before that, there's a scene that we see in the preview in the trailer with X-23 trying to convince Wolverine to join them. And Wolverine, he's real beat up. He feels like he's a loser, but he does end up joining them anyway. And so they crash this area. They fight. X-23 ends up cutting off Juggernaut's head. She gets the helmet to Deadpool and Wolverine, and they end up kind of sparking this bargain with the Cassandra Nova. And Cassandra Nova uses a ring that she stole from Doctor Strange, and she opens up a portal to send Deadpool and Wolverine back out into the main universe. Well, it turns out that the TVA, you see, this branch of the TVA with Mobius, they're acting in contrast to the rest of the TVA. Mobius wants to just instant kill Deadpool's timeline, even though it would have like another 1,000 or so years. He wants to instant kill it, and he wants to kind of move up the ranks of the TVA. And so he's doing all kinds of shady stuff and shady shenanigans. And he originally had this deal and this kind of connection with Cassandra Nova, but he ends up crossing her, and she finds out. So when Deadpool and Wolverine make it back to the main universe, she shows up and she captures Mobius, and her plan is to now go to their base and use this machine that they've got. And her plan is to just unravel all universes, to just unravel all of them, and that way they all go to the junkyard, and she'll be this god over all of them in the junkyard, which is fine. You know, it's kind of that generic, villain line, But again, the main strength of this film isn't the villain, it is the Deadpool and Wolverine. I will say some of the things about Mobius, he was a little bit too goofy here and there. It fit with the overall tone of the film. He wasn't a strong part, though, but he served a purpose. Just like she wasn't a strong part of this film, but she served a purpose, and it was fine. And so they're doing that, and Cassandra Nova has all of the other Deadpool people who are in the junkyard. They all work for her. And so she opens up a portal, and all of them show up, and that's where we see that scene where there's Lady Deadpool, who, by the way, never takes off her mask. We don't know who the actress is who plays Lady Deadpool, but all the other ones show up, and so Logan and Wolverine and Deadpool are going to fight against them. But one of the best scenes in this whole movie that I love so much was when they all show up and they all are about to fight. Wolverine is standing there with Deadpool, and he reaches back in his costume and pulls down his mask, and it's awesome. One of the things I wanted to see was the Wolverine mask. I remember watching all of the previews and saying, like, I'm so glad he has the outfit now, but it would be really cool to see that mask, to see what it looks like. They did it. They pulled it off, and he wears it for most of the rest of the movie. He takes it off at the end, though. And it's good, and it has like the little white eyes, the CGI little white eyes that Deadpool's costume has. But it looks so good. Like, it really, really does look good. And it was that Captain America moment where he picks up the hammer. Again, not as big as that moment, but I was just like, it's one of the best parts. And there is this montage of them going through this street, and the camera slowly panning, and all of these Deadpools are rushing them, and Deadpool and Wolverine are just slaughtering them, and just going through them all and slaughtering them. So, at the end of that, most of the Deadpools revive. They revive, and one of the other guys, who's just this weird loser that's like the sidekick of Deadpool, but he's in a Deadpool outfit. I don't even remember his name. He shows up there, and his balls are like almost sticking through his costume. He's got like these massive balls. And he shows up, and he's just like, guys, it's okay. This Deadpool's with me. He's fine. And then they're all like, oh, okay. So Deadpool and Wolverine leave. They go down into the TVA, which is like in the sewers for some reason. And Mobius is basically like, listen, Cassandra is unraveling the universes. But there's a power station that she's using where there's matter and antimatter. If you can rip the two out and combine them, everything shatters and she'll be stopped and the day will be saved. So they go down there. They do this kind of bromance thing where they the other one doesn't want to sacrifice the other one, so they try to do the hero thing. But Deadpool ends up going in there, and then Wolverine does end up making it in as well. They end up combining the antimatter and matter. It disperses, blows everything up, and Cassandra, who is controlling this machine in the other area, she just kind of disintegrates and blows up. She's dead. And that's towards the end. I mean, that's it. They show up, they survive, even though they thought they were going to die. Everyone thought they was going to die. The main head, it's that of the TVA, it's that fat black chick. She shows up. She confronts Mobius. She's like, "You've been doing things behind our back, yada yada," and she basically arrests him. And she tells Deadpool, "Hey, what you did in this film actually somehow stabilized your universe, and it's no longer dying." Which kind of implies, now that I think about it, that he's become the anchor person, the anchor individual, or whatever that term they used was, of his universe. But whatever the case is, he saved his universe, and it's okay. And so she basically lets them go. She lets Wolverine and Deadpool go, and they leave, and they go eat shawarma, just like at the end of the Avengers film, and they're chatting, and, Deadpool's like, "Am I going to see you again?" And Hugh Jackman as Wolverine, he's like, "Probably not." And he takes off and leaves. And, oh, I'm sorry, no, he invites Wolverine, he invites Logan to his home. And it's the movie ends with this nice scene. They're all at Deadpool's home. They're in their normal clothes. Deadpool and Logan are sitting together. They're at the table. The chick is there. And then also X-23 is there because Deadpool asked the fat black chick who works for the TVA. She was like, "Hey, there's some people back in the junkyard who helped us out. Can you, by any chance, help them?" And she was like, "I'll see what I can do." So it may open up the door to future things, in the future, we'll see. But X-23, the girl, I guess she got out of the junkyard as well. So she's at the table. Logan's there. Deadpool's there. Deadpool's chick is there. A lot of Deadpool's friends are there, and the blind black lady who's in this film scattered throughout, she's there. And you can kind of see, based off the conversation that Ryan Reynolds is having with that chick, that there's hope for their relationship. Like, they're kind of making things up. And they're sitting and laughing and eating. And it's a really nice ending to the film. And I thought it was great. And so it was just so much fun. There was a lot of fun. There's a lot of cameos. I mentioned all the main ones. No, I didn't. There was one more cameo. And I'll wrap things up because this video is getting long. But that's the overall gist of the film. The main bullet points. There's another cameo I forgot about. When, at the beginning, Deadpool steals that device and is going to these different universes to look for a replacement Wolverine, he does come across Henry Cavill, and Henry Cavill is playing a Wolverine. And the scene is brief. It lasts maybe 1 minute long, and Henry Cavill beats the hell out of him, and so he's done. And Wolverine's like, "No, you're not the right one." But Henry Cavill, like, he's got the sideburns and the hair, and he plays it off well. And Deadpool even makes this remark of, "Hey, why don't you come with us? We'll treat you way better than those..." What did he say? Something like, "We'll treat you way better than those assholes at that other place." And he's referring to, like, how he was treated on the Witcher TV show. I thought that was so good. There's a lot of fourth breaking, wall breaking. Deadpool mentions Fox. In fact, when they're in the wasteland where everything goes to die, there's a giant 20th Century Fox logo that's in the sand. And yeah, there's all that stuff there. Like I said, you gotta watch it twice because there's so many little references to all the stuff that happened. Deadpool even makes a reference of the multiverse, and it's when all the Deadpools show up. Deadpool's like, guys, listen." He says something like this. He's like, "Guys, we gotta stop with this multiverse thing. We gotta stop. We tried it, but let's just face it, it's not working. Things haven't been the same since Endgame." And I couldn't stop laughing. I thought, yes, that's what we've all been saying. All of the Marvel stuff since Endgame has sucked. And so Deadpool basically says that in the movie. And it's good. It's golden. And so it's really good. And that's the gist. Like, that's the overall plot of the movie. I don't know if there's any end credit scenes, but I do know that there's just so many things, and I'm trying to think of if there was any other major cameos or stuff that I saw. they mentioned Blade in the movie. You know, Blade hung out with them. He went with them for a while and fought with them and Elektra and them at the base. And Wesley Snipes makes this remark about how there's only ever going to be one Blade, and Deadpool kind of looks into the camera like, mm. so so there's that. But yeah, and I thought it was all pretty solid. So I had so much fun with this movie, and I'm gonna see it again at some point to just get some of the references again. But it was great. It was a lot of fun. That's the overall plot. Um, a lot of people died. Sabretooth and all of them are dead. He killed so many TVA agents, but thumbs up. And so I wanted to go over spoilers, and those are my thoughts. I think I'm going to wrap it up there because this video is already getting pretty long. But I'd love to know what you guys think. Have you checked it out? Are you going to check it out? And if so, please tell me your thoughts in the comments below. Are you excited about this? Have you seen it? Or do you think it's going to save Marvel or not? I'd love to know. Even based off the stuff I told you in the spoilers, you know, what do you think about some of that stuff? And please don't forget, guys, to hit the like button, the subscribe button, and the bell icon to be notified when my new videos drop. Really goes a long way in helping out the channel, and all you have to do is make a YouTube account, which is free, and then subscribing is also free. And so, guys, that's going to be it for today. And, of course, as always, have a great freaking day.